And welcome to another edition of Quiet Please, the golf podcast. I am Alan DePew, and as always, we are joined by our panel, and we have a special guest. I'll let Christian introduce him in just a moment. But joining me to my right, Andy Hydorn. Welcome, Andy. Good to see you, sir.
You're right.
Boston Bob, now effectively known as Bourbon Bob because he's living in Kentucky. Bob Baldessari.
Cheers and cheers.
And the prettiest podcaster in golf, Christian Nazamus.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.
I'm going to let you do the introduction. You have a connection here, special guest. Really excited to have on the show. So I defer to you, sir.
Yeah, special guest tonight. I think we played in a couple tournaments when we were like it had to be way back in the day. I know for a fact that he definitely kicked my ass moving forward. I mean, it wasn't even a competition. But no, we have pleased to announce PGA Tour rookie Kevin Roy joining the show this evening.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Kevin, welcome. So you're before we hit record, you're down in the Tampa area expecting your first child. Congrats in advance. If you fade off at some point, we understand. If you need to slide off the podcast, we get it. We've all been there. Well, Christian, maybe not yet, but
so. That would be news. That would be news to me. So,
but obviously, the topic at hand, everybody is, and love to get your insight, whether you're as a fan like us or just banter with the other guys out on tour. LA. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the first thing that comes to my mind, I wasn't a really big fan of it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a big golf guy, so if I'm not playing in the tournament, I'm certainly watching it. I don't know. It just didn't seem like a U.S. Open to me, to be honest with you. Just from there didn't seem like there was many spectators out there. Wasn't a lot of roars. It didn't look like, obviously the scores were low. I'm surprised the USGA didn't try to like make it much harder after seeing 262s in the first day. I don't know. I just got the vibe that it just didn't seem like a U.S. Open course. I mean, John Rahm said today in his presser at the Travelers, I mean, he likes a tough test. And I think that's what the USGA is all about. And that's what they're known for is, hard golf courses. So, I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I thought the finish was pretty good. I would have loved to see Ricky kind of, hang in there, down the stretch, but it's good to see him playing some good golf. But, I don't know. When I think of U.S. Opens, I kind of want to see the winner right around even par.
Andy,
I couldn't agree more. That's how I am. I love it.
Andy, as a guy that's playing a lot of USGA events, Andy, is that what you're hearing? That's your opinion, or?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. I thought it was interesting that the first round there were all those low scores, and then the final winning score ended up being just a couple more under from there. But it definitely didn't have the feel of a U.S. Open. And as much as I loved Oak Hill, how it played out and how it looked, and everything about Oak Hill as a venue, it just felt like it was missing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of people there, Yeah. I mean, there was just not enough people there.
That was the first thing I noticed, to be honest with you. I mean, and obviously it started going all over social media. It just seemed like the members of the LACC wanted to basically kind of dominate the show and just kind of, be like, oh, this is our course, and we're going to be the only ones here watching. And, they were talking about that, little private suite right behind the first tee that was immediately purchased by all the members just so they could be there right on the first tee. I don't know. It just didn't, I haven't really talked to many of my buddies that did play. But it just kind of felt like it just didn't seem like a U.S. Open. It just, when, people were making, some runs or making a lot of birdies, this and that. I mean, you just don't get those roars like you usually do in them.
Yep.
Even Sunday, Tommy Fleetwood was, I think, 9 under through 14 or something like that. And like, it looked like a normal Thursday morning at like just a normal event. You know, I
Right.
agree with what you both said. It doesn't even feel like a U.S. Open. And, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, if there's two tournaments in the year that really play like tour players, like is what we call them, like struggle in quotes, it should be an Open. It should be the U.S. Open. It should be the Open too, you know?
100%.
And
Couldn't
I
agree
love,
more.
yeah. So not that we like seeing you guys struggle on tour, you know, but like every now and then it's like, yeah, the
Yeah,
U.S. Open, for example.
It's just what they're known for, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, it's, I don't know. It just, you know, and then, you know, how they talked about how wide the fairways were. And, you know, obviously it was a little bit penalizing if you, you know, did miss the fairway. But I mean, these guys were shooting pretty darn good scores while missing fairways. So
I mean, I don't know, but wind was ball off at 18. That thing banked right hard.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I mean, you know, not to knock Wyndham or anything. Obviously, he played unbelievable, and it's awesome to see him win. But like any other golf course in previous years at U.S. Open, that ball is well off the fairway.
Right.
Yeah, easily. I think how big is that fairway anyways? Was it like 58 yards, 60
It
yards?
was like almost 60 yards wide on 18.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, not to take anything away from him. I mean, he held off arguably the best player in the world right now, and
no doubt, yeah, no doubt, he played unbelievable coming down the stretch. I mean, even those
100%.
couple bogeys, but it's just, you know, it was kind of funny. I saw a tweet something about how, remember when Phil Mickelson blew it way right on when he was about to win one. Someone tweeted something about that. You know, it was like, you know, the same exact shot, but one ends up in a loss, the other one wins.
Yeah, and Winged Foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Bobby, I heard him calling it the corporate open. I think that's what Dan Rappaport tweeted.
Did he?
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, to Kevin's point, it was a ton of corporate. Definitely. I mean, whoever was there from LA was the LA vibe, the laid back thing too. So, you know, it's not an East Coast type of event. I was just curious, Kevin. You know, thanks again for being with us tonight. Do you know Wyndham at all? Have you played with them? And also, when you watch the U.S. Open, if you happen to be home, are you like some amateur golfers that might see a shot or see somebody play a hole and learn from that?
I don't really know Wyndham too well. I think I've met him maybe once or twice. Haven't played with him yet. But I've heard nothing but amazing things from him. A really nice guy, stand-up guy. Obviously, you know, in his pressers and everything, he really sounds like a really good dude. So, depends on, I don't know, not too much this past event. I was just kind of, you know, just watching just to watch. You know, we had a lot of, you know, I haven't been home in a while, so it was nice to be home and kind of sit around, but, you know, it's still kind of busy here with, you know, Annie being, you know, very pregnant. So, to answer your last question, no, I didn't really kind of analyze it too much. I was just kind of watching and you know, just enjoying it really.
That's awesome.
I saw one. I obviously follow a bunch of the guys on Twitter. Michael Kim, after the very first round, I can't remember the specifics, but he gave a bunch of observations, wide fairways, all the number of things we already touched on. He predicted 8.5 over under was gonna be the winning score. I mean, do you guys have that sense for the most part? After day one.
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, you know, we kind of predicted pretty well up at the Canadian Open this year. It was a shorter course, but it was super narrow, and the rough was like, I mean, it blew LACC's rough out of the water. I mean, you actually had to chip out if you were in this rough. Like, you could be an inch off the fairway, and you're hitting it an inch back into the fairway. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of get an idea what you think the score will be or what the cut might be. You know, we were pretty spot on in Canada. I mean, we guessed, I think it was an even cut. We were guessing 1 over or even for it, which is, you know, a pretty high cut for a regular tour event. But it was just, I mean, you literally couldn't miss a fairway. It was, and they're pretty narrow fairways. So it was a pretty, that was for me, it was the first time I've ever played in rough like that crazy that you have to just hit like a 58-degree wedge back out.
I guess oh, go ahead, Andy.
Sorry, Christian. I was just going to say, what do you think about that, Kevin? I mean, because, you know, at the end of the day, people bitch about, you know, the ball going too far and scores being too low and this and that. And, you know, a lot of people love to throw out, well, they should have crazy rough everywhere. And, mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy thing to say that if you want to see guys struggle, I mean, it's all you got to do. I mean, if you grow the rough up, people are going to struggle. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, I mean, Canada, like I said, Canada was a perfect example. I mean, this rough was gnarly. It was crazy, and guys struggled. And I mean, if I know, a lot of viewers like watching guys make birdies. It's fun. But I mean, I'd rather play golf courses that it kind of takes a putting contest out of it. It brings into the ball strikers and hitting fairways and hitting greens and making a lot of pars. I like that golf. That golf's fun to me. But 3.5 years on the Korn Ferry, we learned pretty quickly that you have to shoot a lot of 66s and 65s, especially out on that tour. So I don't know. I love a good test. I feel like it just brings out the best of my game. I just think it's nice getting rewarded for like a 68, like a hard fought 68, rather than shooting a 68 and moving down 10 spots.
Yep. That's a good point.
It's kind of a two-part question, I guess. What is the biggest, or what has been the biggest challenge from the Korn Ferry to the PGA so far? And then two, it's kind of a different question to it, but what are your, like, looking ahead to the rest of the season? I know we talked briefly, you're going to be on the road for the next 5 weeks. Really, this, like, what are like your goals for like the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I've learned is a couple of things. I mean, time management out on the PGA Tour it's crazy. I mean, we have these things called the sponsor value programs. So I think we got to do 8 or 9 of them a week, or a year. Sorry. And they're fun. Some of them, they're like clinics, or you go, I've gone to a children's hospital and hang out with some kids, and go to a school and do a Q&A with some kids. They're fun, but like the Korn Ferry didn't have to do that. So you got to kind of, time your, practice schedules and practice rounds a little bit better. But, and then I've learned, unfortunately, the hard way so far is the PGA Tour, you got to hit a lot of middle of the greens. You can't attack the pins as much as you can on the Korn Ferry Tour, just because if you short side yourself on the PGA Tour, I mean, you got to hit an unbelievable chip basically to get it up and down. And on the Korn Ferry Tour, if you short side yourself, you can still manage a par. So I've kind of learned that the hard way. I got aggressive a little bit. It was attacking some pins, and it probably shouldn't have been. But pars are very good on the PGA Tour. What I've come to learn for sure. What was your other question? Sorry.
Just like looking ahead for the rest of the season.
Looking ahead,
like
goals.
just like goals.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like my game's in a good spot. I know my results haven't really been showing it. I'm playing good golf. I'm just kind of, I'm making a lot of bogeys, which, the second half of the Korn Ferry Tour, I wasn't doing that. So yeah, I mean, it's still a learning process, but I feel I'm getting more and more comfortable out there, and I just want to go out and play some good golf, have some fun doing it. Sneak in some good finishes and see if I can squeeze into this 125 to be able to keep playing.
Hey, Kevin,
I got no doubt.
I was
Go
going to
ahead,
ask you,
Bob.
I was going to ask a question about Christian kind of hit it. It's such a fine line. When I talk to the amateur golfers at our clubs over the years, the fine line between, hey, you're a really good college player, to making it as a professional, to even, what Alan and I've done, or Brennan as a PGA Club pro, that degree of playing pretty good. But then the Korn Ferry and then the PGA Tour, I mean, it's fine lines, and people don't realize how fine a line it is. I'm from Boston. It's a wicked fine line. I'm kind of following up on that. What has helped you navigate going up those different steps to make it on the PGA Tour? And is it a lot of people talk about a mindset, and sometimes you got all the physical tools, but as Bobby Jones said, it's 6 inches between your ears. Right. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I think one of the biggest things my dad's ever told me, and I have it written down in my yardage book every week I can see it, is value par. I think
I think people don't realize, like, par's like your best friend. I mean, like, if you make a bunch of pars, you're going to end up shooting a lot of good scores. That, and he also told me to fall in love with a wedge and a putter. And that, I think, is the biggest fine line between very good college players and then taking it to the next level. I mean, you see these guys, I mean, they hit it really close when they have a wedge in their hand. They're making I mean, the stat that still absolutely blows my mind is these guys that are like 30 for 30 from inside like 8 feet. Like, that's crazy. I mean, you could have a 4-footer that breaks a foot, and these guys are always, so being able to putt and chip and hitting your wedges close, knowing you're 150 yards and in and hitting them pit high. I think that's the biggest fine line between like a really good, D1 player and then, taking it to the next level.
So Kevin, I can only imagine there are nights where you wake up and you're panicking about your first rookie year flying by too fast, right? And I can only imagine that's something that goes through your mind. But one of the things that interests me is how big of an issue or an advantage is familiarity with the venues, like being able to go back to a place, and you did it on the Korn Ferry, you were there for a few years, and it's like how big of an advantage it is to go back to a place you've been before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very big advantage, especially at a place that you've played well at before. Obviously, other than maybe 2 courses so far on the PGA Tour, I've never played. So, I've been trying to play in a lot of the Monday pro-ams out there. I think it's just, because I'm not playing. I don't, in our category, we don't play the Wednesday pro-am. So the course is basically closed Wednesday. So if I can get to the course by Monday, I'll do it. Even if it costs an extra couple dollars, I'll get there so I get to play all 18 holes on Monday, see the course. And that definitely has helped. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a huge advantage, especially last year on the Korn Ferry Tour, knowing all the courses. I think it helps a lot to be more rested because I can take a little bit more time off on like a Monday or even, a Tuesday because I've already played the course. So, I was usually, like last year on the Korn Ferry, I might play 9 holes and then 9 holes in the pro-am and that's it, just because I've already seen the course.
So kind of to follow up on something you had mentioned, Kevin, is as the season, I was looking at your stats. Obviously, you had great success down in Mexico. I think that was your best finish so far this year. What was different about that than some of the earlier ones? Was it just and by the way, Andy's Mr. Venue. Andy's all about the venue, about the venue. That's and he's right. But did the venue just set up to your eye better?
Yeah, I mean, I like the golf course right off the bat. It did suit my eye pretty well. That was I just felt really comfortable that week for some reason. I actually put a new driver in play that beginning of that week and drove it just great the entire week. And I don't know. I mean, I finished T18 there with, I think, a double, a triple, and 2 bogeys. So I definitely had the putter going that week. It was just I kind of felt like it was Korn Ferry, second half of Korn Ferry all over again. I was taking advantage of the par 5s. I took advantage of the short par 4s, and I was trying to make pars on the hard par 4s. And obviously I screwed up a couple of them, but I just felt comfortable there. I drove it well and putted it well, and obviously that leads to some pretty good tournaments.
Yeah, I actually watched that tournament a lot actually that week. So when I tell you right now, like back home here in Syracuse, like I'm a member at Beaver Meadows. Like there are guys literally at Beaver that are like asking the bartenders behind to like put you on the TV. True story, literally, because like everybody here is just rooting for you to do well, and we all know that like your time's coming and you're knocking on the door, and we just all know that like you're just gonna win one this year or you're gonna win one very soon.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely started talking to a mental guy and trying to get the mind in the right place, and it's been good. And I'm playing some really good golf here at home, and just obviously we all know that it's tough to take it from playing with friends to competition, but I played good in Canada. I had a couple silly mistakes, but I really do feel like the game is trending in the right direction for sure.
It's what it's all about, confidence.
Yeah, is it all right to broach the subject on LIB and what you're hearing?
Yes, it is right.
Come on, Bobby. Wait a minute. I gotta hit you with the quiet, please.
No, you put that down.
Well, well, go ahead.
No, it's all you, Bobby. You ruined it for me.
No, well, I've done a lot in the industry, and I know a lot of people. So I know people with LIB at high ranking, and I used to work for Dean Beeman, who used to run the tour, and we're trying to get Dean on the show and get his perspective. And so there's a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of craziness out there. And one of my good friends is Kelly Elvin, whose dad was PGA America president when the PGA and the tournament players, they split. So there's a lot of history there. It's not the first time something sort of crazy has happened, but this is unique in its own way. But I don't know if, your take on the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were all really caught off guard when we got the Tuesday morning text message up in Canada. I personally don't think there's enough details out yet to dive too into it. Do I agree with the decision? No, not really. Probably not. I think I went to the players meeting, and I would say 95% of the guys in there were obviously caught off guard, felt betrayed, angry. But I don't think we know enough details yet to kind of understand really what's going on. I feel like Jay he might have jumped the gun pretty quick, obviously, since no one knew about it. And there were some really good questions brought up in the meeting that made a ton of sense. I'm like wondering why just jump right into the with the PIF. I'm sure there's multiple corporations in America that would probably love to partner with the PGA Tour that have a lot of money as well.
Did you happen to see Tom Watson's letter? Did you read that?
I saw. I was reading a little bit on the plane last night. Yeah, I mean it's a crazy time in golf. There's no doubt about that. It's I think I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of unhappy people. I mean, especially like guys in my situation. In the Korn Ferry category on the tour, that it kind of feels like we're almost just going to get shoved to the side and not basically. I mean, who knows? I mean, it feels like they're just trying to fill up the top guys' pockets. And I hope that's not the case. I hope everyone gets treated fairly as the same. I just don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. We haven't heard a thing since that meeting. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm just as interested as all you guys for sure to see what's next.
All right, Andy.
Okay, here I go. This is my favorite topic. So I read Tom Watson's letter, and I think as eloquently as it was written, it's really the same story in the sense that he's frustrated that he doesn't really know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what the answers are. And to me, still, the main cog in this whole thing is, what is this new entity with the PIF and the PGA Tour? Like, again, the way I read it is the PGA Tour is going to be the PGA Tour, and then whatever this new entity is, we don't know. And I don't think there's many people at this stage that know the answer to that question. And the answer to that question really is what makes people like in your shoes, Kevin, either say, oh, okay, I'm good with this, or, oh, okay, I'm not good with this. But nobody knows yet, right? And I think there's people, talking back and forth and making all these crazy judgments about what has happened already, where nothing's really happened yet.
Nothing's happened, and everyone. I mean, you heard all the guys at LACC talking about it. I mean, no one knows. I mean, everyone, even the Rory. I mean, Rory Fitzpatrick, Shane Lowry, and Tyrell Hatton all sat at a table in the player meeting, and not one of them said a word. I know Fitzpatrick was very angry when he found out. But even those guys, I mean, those guys are top 15 players in the world. Some of them are top 5. I mean, they had no idea. I mean, Colin Morikawa tweeted, this news waking up. I mean, in the tour is supposed to be a players tour. We're
Right.
The players are supposed to make the decision. So then all of a sudden we get this text message, and so obviously everyone just feels betrayed, and everyone's confused. It's a lot going on. And no one knows any answers, and I don't even know if the higher ups, the guys who are making this decision, know any of the answers yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't,
Right.
I really wouldn't. And again, reserving judgment for what the actual outcome is probably what the doctor ordered at this point.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I know that, they say the PGA Tour is going to have, first choice and everything, but I kind of have a feeling that, when an investor puts a lot of money into something, they seem to start calling the shots. So I don't know.
Yeah, it generally works that way, right, Bobby?
Oh yeah.
But again, are they investing in the PGA Tour, or are they investing in this new entity?
Well, they're investing in the new
that's the
entity,
question.
right? And
What's that?
They're investing in the new entity, right?
Right. So who knows if that gives them leverage with what the PGA Tour does?
Which actually, that part's, I want to ask Kevin to comment. That part's always the question about fines and these guys coming back. They're not coming back to the same tour. They're coming back to a new entity. But you touched on something, Kevin, that I didn't think of before. But look at like the NFL with what they did with Amazon this year. Can you imagine if Amazon Prime or a Twitter or a Facebook or somebody like that, if they were the money investors that tied in with their social footprint and what they could do with the tour, it'd be crazy.
Right. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting. I just think it kind of seems like I said, that these guys just made this decision. It feels like they just woke up and be like, boom, all right, we're merging. Like they didn't even try to go out and, obviously at the end of the day, this is a huge money thing. Like the tour clearly cannot keep up with the Saudi money. I mean, that's about as obvious as it gets, right? But why all of a sudden merge? Why not think about this for a second? Why not, because Matt McNeely, obviously, he was the one who came up with some really good questions. He's a very, very smart individual with his dad, obviously a very successful businessman. He just kind of was why just jump right into it? Why not weigh our options? I mean, there's definitely other corporations that are in America that would love to partner with the PGA Tour, and I don't know. I don't know. I sit at the edge of my seat just as much as you guys. I can't wait to see what the next thing that comes out is.
Kevin,
All right, before Christian says anything, hang on a second.
Why you got quiet, please, me?
Well, quiet.
you hit me?
All right. Bobby, in another life, he led the whole drive, chip, and putt at the PGA National, and he could tell you the long story about how he literally walked in. I'll tell it for him. He walked in and they handed this and said, "Hey, you got to set up 30 venues or in 30 days or something like 60
110
venues." There you go. They're 7 months away, and they got to set up the entire season for next year. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah, sure is.
I think a lot of that thing, Kevin, had to do. I think lawsuits, and both sides were probably freaking out as far as discovery and on that legal terminology, and from what I know from my sources, but yeah, exactly the same thing. I'm a member of the PGA of America. We're supposed to be the 29,000 that we should have a say in how things go, and we don't. But you have a smaller PGA Tour Association, and I was shocked that this secretive, covert stuff is going on, and you're not aware of it. Nothing about it seemed right. And for you to get caught off guard I don't know, that wouldn't sit well with me. There's a lot of things the PGA market does that does not sit well with me. And, but that's for another show. Come on back and we'll talk about that one.
All right.
It was interesting. It was the weirdest Tuesday I've ever witnessed so far out there. I mean, everyone was quiet. Everyone was just staring at their phones. Obviously a lot of upset people, but it was definitely a different feeling that Tuesday. Not many people were too interested in grinding. I mean, it was brought up at the tournament, at the players meeting, to boycott the tournament.
Wow.
To everyone just not play. I was like, guys, I'm gonna play. If you guys don't want to play, that's fine with me.
Yeah, right. No, I remember watching Wesley Bryan's video. He was about to go Instagram live with it, and then I remember him sitting at the table, and I'm just like, oh boy, that would have been something if he actually did. But
you could have sold that for some money.
Yeah, right. Tell me about it. That's funny. But
all right, Christian, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I didn't have anything different to say from what all of you just said. I agree with Kevin completely. I think it was a decision that was made at the split second. I don't think there was a whole lot of knowledge behind it. I think Jay or whoever even told Jay to make that decision. If it was Jay himself, there was just a split decision. I'm curious what happens moving forward. A lot of people, it's a mix. A lot of people think it's going to help the game. A lot of people think it's going to hurt it. Brandel Chambly said it's the saddest day in golf history, or whatever his quote was. But then you have guys on Live right now, like Phil, saying I think it's going to help the game out tremendously. No one will know until actually stuff is being done. And I just hope that it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't hurt the game moving forward, because we've been talking about it for years. That the PGA is in a great spot. I see you down there, Andy. Is in a great spot talent-wise. And I really don't want it to kind of affect that moving forward.
Yeah, I would just like to add that it's clear to me that Jay was totally caught off guard for this whole thing as well. I mean, it's possibly what ended up putting him away from work for a little while, right? All the stress and all that. Yeah. He clearly was owning up to be the hypocrite. I mean, he was not ready for this either. So the dynamics behind everything that happened would be truly interesting to understand and hear. But I just feel bad for Jay, because I think he was backed into a corner here, it seems like to me.
Yeah, he was definitely put in a bad position. I have a great relationship with Jay, and if he is sick or any kind of medical thing he's got going on, I really hope he gets better soon. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be him right now, that's for sure.
I'll tell you, the one that caught me was Full Swing Part 2 was filming Rory when he looked down at his phone sitting in the locker room when he got the news.
Yeah. They tried to get Full Swing to go try to get him into the players meeting, but they didn't allow it. But apparently they had like a player only meeting after Jay left, and I guess maybe they went in and did some recording in there. But I have already left by then.
Supposedly there was a meeting today too, right?
Yeah, there is one actually. It's probably it's probably over with now. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of it's all over social media right now. Anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Any truth that you're going to be in Full Swing Part 2? Just kidding. I'm just
not that I know of.
Well, that was all the questions and stuff that I had for Kev.
Yeah, I'm curious, Kevin. I'm always, my dad was a PGA pro. I started right in the crib, that type of thing. But who started you in the game of golf? And as a side thing, it's pretty obvious after tonight that you beating the hell out of Christian as a youth golfer helped your trajectory to get to the tour. That confidence.
Yeah, my dad. Obviously he was a very good player in his own right, and I still send my dad swings every single time I'm on the range, whether it's at a tournament or down here in Florida.
That's so cool.
when he's down here, we play a bunch, obviously, with my older brother. And so, yeah, I mean, my dad, he's been a huge influence, both swing wise and just mentor wise and everything. And I do work with a guy down here in Tampa. His name's Dustin at Old Memorial. And he basically says the same thing as my dad, just worded different, which, sometimes is, as a golfer and a teacher and been around it forever, it's nice to maybe hear it a little differently. So, yeah, between the two of them, like I said, I talk to my dad, daily. And so he got me started in it very young, basically since I can remember.
I just want to know, Kevin, why didn't you go to USF?
I don't know. I almost went to the University of Tampa, but my goal was to always play Division One. So then we started looking around, and then Hartford came calling, and they were D1, and then Poutre, he decided to go out to Long Beach State, and then that was kind of a no-brainer.
He was so happy that you followed him, like super, super happy. That was a big deal for him.
He's awesome. I still talk to him all the time. We were trying. He was working his tail off to try to get me a sponsor invite this week at the Travelers. But yeah, I mean, Bill he's a great guy, and we still keep in touch for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, Kevin, I just want to echo something Bobby said. I mean, the crushing victory over Christian. I mean, it's relegated him to the charities circuit, and I got to carry him most of the time. Also, I mean, it's
yeah, right. I'm pretty sure last tournament you and I played in together. I think you played half the holes because your son and I carried you all day, and you made a few putts, and that was it.
Hey, Alan has a function.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
Alan has a function in life. It's pretty simple. It's pretty narrow-minded, but it's all about making it win.
I would win the Tiger Woods Pop Stroke International. I'm telling you.
There it is.
Hey, if you guys ever want to get a huge chuckle, just Google or even search on YouTube for the national putt competitions that they used to have. Billy Packer used to do the commentary on it. And I'm telling you, it's some of the funniest shit you'll ever see. Back in like 1980, the national putt stuff.
Oh, they're great.
It's priceless.
Wow. Hey, Kevin, do you have a steady caddy on tour now, or how's the caddy situation, and how does that affect your play?
Yeah, I do. Jay Green is my caddy right now. He's been with me for probably closing in on maybe 10 weeks or so. I had my buddy Jordan was caddying for me on Korn Ferry Tour, and there's a little bit different ball game out in the PGA Tour. Kind of needed an actual caddy who's been around for a little bit, and Jay's right around my age. He's a great caddy, great kid. I really enjoy being around him. He's a good golfer too, which always helps. So he has no problem voicing his opinion or giving a read or something like that. So I really enjoy being with him so far.
That's always something where you're between call it a 7 and a 6 iron, and the caddy has the gumption to say, hey, go with the 7 or go, or to really feel like he's there to help you, but not just like, hey, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And he has, and I told him, I go, dude, I trust you, just as much as I trust myself. So if you think I'm hitting the wrong club, then please tell me, because if I hit the wrong club and then you tell me after the round that you thought I hit the wrong club, but you didn't call me off, and I'd probably be a little more upset. So he's a really good caddy. He's been out there for a bit. He's won on the Korn Ferry Tour with his last player, and he's really good.
And I've got to ask one final question, Kevin. Just because where I am these days and these guys give me a hard time, do you have a favorite bourbon?
Ooh. I'm not a huge bourbon guy. I'll sip it every once in a while. I think I had this. Was it called Whistle Pig?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah. So I have someone gave me a bottle of Whistle Pig when I got my tour card, and I've tried that before, and it's good. I really like it, but I'm more of a wine guy, and like a cold beer or something. Like, you can't beat a cold beer. So
Yeah. That might be part of our show, Alan. Just the bourbon angle now.
Yeah, I do like it. It's nice, especially if we're gonna have a little cigar. A little cigar and bourbon's nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you know what it
Fresh
goes
out.
really well with, Bobby? Some Woodford bourbon with some Q hibiscus ginger beer.
You're exactly right.
It's a Kentucky mule. It's a beautiful
Here
thing.
we go.
If we're gonna work a
Oh,
shameless plug in, that's a good shameless segue right there, Andy Hydorn. Christian, you were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna go off of just Bourbon Bob really quick. Really, when do you like call in your caddy? Do you call him more in on like the greens for a read? Do you like say, hey, work more so like in the fairway? Like kind of like when do you kind of go to him the most like during a round?
Yeah, so I like it. We both get yardages. I've always gotten my yardages. I just don't think I'd be able to pull the trigger not getting the number myself. So we always go to two different yardage things in the fairway or the rough, wherever we are, and pace it off and then compare numbers. And then I have one of those distance measuring device things, or a quad, or so he knows all my yardages for irons and stuff. So yeah, I mean, he kind of I at the end of the day I make the decisions, but I'll ask him if I'm in between a club. I'll try to get his opinion. Do you think it's a knockdown 6, or do you think it's a hard 7? And then as far as the greens, I mean, he's like I say, he's a good player, so he's always looking at the putt. And he doesn't really give his opinion or anything unless I ask him, which is perfect. I mean, that's kind of just how I like it. I always feel like the less information I have is probably better for my brain. But if I do ask him, I definitely I trust his read, and he knows how to read a green for sure.
Awesome. Like, do you see yourself like getting with him more frequently now, like during the week, like leading up to a tournament, like like Rocket Mortgage, for example? Like, are you going to get together with him, say like this week, next week, and just kind of like do a little bit like work together before that tournament starts?
I doubt we'll get together. He lives up in Sea Island.
Okay.
I doubt it right now, just because of the baby situation. But I have done that in the past. We have off weeks or something. We have gotten together and did some practicing or just playing. Yeah, it's definitely nice that kind of have them around. But we're around each other a lot, obviously. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, we're grinding pretty hard, both on the course, on the range, and just getting dialed in for that week.
Awesome.
So Kevin, every show we have a segment where, because we've all been in the business, whether it's running clubs or repping or playing or whatever the case may be, where we say, don't be that guy. And Andy sent one out earlier. Andy, what was that one on social? Or was that you that shared that one?
Yeah, I shared it. It was
okay.
And the reason I shared it was because they were taking our IP there, saying don't be that guy. That's our thing.
That's our thing.
But it was one of the competitors at LA Country Club was
It was Cam.
Yeah, Cam Smith.
Cam Smith was on the box with Fitzpatrick standing beside him.
Okay, and he was ready to draw it back, and the marshal's phone was not on vibrate. It's going off.
So if you're gonna
don't be that guy.
If you're gonna be a marshal standing back there with the signs, turn off your phone. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Classic.
That happens so often, it's unbelievable.
We have to ask. Do you want to throw in a guess one? Something the tour player that, from a tour perspective, don't be that guy. Don't be that fan.
I had one yesterday. Actually, it was pretty funny. So obviously, each tournament you have all these the volunteers and the spotters and stuff. On the 10th hole yesterday, I had to drive down the middle of the fairway when we get up there, and the spotter went and put the flag next to my ball in the middle of the fairway. And I looked at
That's good.
I looked at Jay. I go, Jay. This is definitely a first one for me. I thought I'd be able to find this one right down the middle, but he went out. So
Here it is.
yeah,
Just in
don't be
case.
that guy. You know, marking the flag in the middle of the fairway.
Well trained. Yeah.
That's funny.
All right, approaching the final green, Christian. 18th hole. Actually, let's go to Bobby first. We'll come back to you, Christian. 18th green, Bobby. Final thoughts.
I hate when you come to me first. Oh, geez. I don't know. Well, let me just leave it at this. Thank you, Kevin, for being with us. We're rooting for you, pulling for you. You know, just relax. Have a couple of bourbons out there. Sorry about that. But yeah, seriously, we appreciate you coming on. We'll be rooting for you. And, you know, it's neat when somebody can get their dreams going and make it on the PGA Tour. And we want the best for you. And we'll keep an eye on Christian. If you ever need a spot caddy, do not bring Christian.
What is that
appreciate it.
supposed to mean? No, don't appreciate that. No, absolutely not. Don't know. All right. I'd be the best caddy on this podcast.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh.
We'll see. We'll see about
All
that.
right, maybe
I
not.
caddied on the LPGA Tour for a little bit, so.
Okay, then I would definitely not be.
We'll have to have a caddy tryout.
Yeah.
We could do that. Go ahead, Andy. What you got?
So a couple things about LA Country Club. And it absolutely blows my mind that there were several par fours over 520 yards. And one of them on, I believe it was 16 maybe, was playing 558 on Saturday. And that just blows my mind. And, you know, I think the interesting part of that is there's a balance and a dynamic between, you know, fairways that are running hard and fast and the width of the fairways and, you know, the lack of rough and all that stuff. But you put all that stuff aside, it still blows my mind that they're playing holes that are 558 yard par fours. That's
299 par threes.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I'll take the
but-
500 plus par fours over 300 par three any day of the week.
Yeah, right. But my last point is, and we touched about this a little bit earlier, if you're gonna get someplace like LA Country Club to host an event like a US Open, it's almost like you did a deal with the devil, you know, and you begged them so much and everything was on their terms to a point where
Yeah.
it wasn't really like a US Open. And, you know, as cool as it was to be there at LA Country Club, the golf course is super cool and interesting and all that stuff. Is it really worth it at the end of the day? I don't think it is.
I would agree. I would
think-
agree with that for sure. I think it'd be a fun everyday course to play. But I would totally agree. I was a little disappointed in the scores that were shot. I mean, I wasn't, you know, they tried to hype it up like it was going to play hard, and you know, when Xander and whoever the other guy was that shot the 8 unders, I go, yeah,
Ricky.
they ain't playing that hard. Or Ricky, yeah.
Christian, came back to you.
Yeah, it came back to me. Thanks. You know, first and foremost, Kev, thanks again for coming on, man. We really greatly appreciate it. You know, I can tell you right now, you're making Q's proud, man. We're all rooting for you here. We're all hoping the best for you. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, you know, your first win's coming very soon. And you know, we have no doubt that that's going to be happening hopefully this season. And we're just continue just to keep kicking butt, man. Honestly, I mean, you're doing really well, and I know that your time's coming. So thank you really much for hopping on here tonight. I know we went a little longer than what we initially talked about, but no, we really appreciate it at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I had fun talking with you guys. I appreciate it. Let's do it again sometime for sure.
We would love that. Do you have any final thoughts yourself before I fire one away?
I mean, I was thank you guys for having me on. I like I said, I enjoyed talking with y'all, and you know, hopefully the next news we get of our favorite topic, Liv, we can jump back on here and discuss it a little bit
Oh, we
more.
would love that. Absolutely.
You're on, kid. You're on.
But no, I appreciate it, guys. It's been fun talking for sure.
Absolutely. And my final thought is actually to the ladies tour. Ladies PGA this week, I believe, Bobby, right?
Yep.
Be some
PGA.
good- be some good action to watch. And Andy, to your point, wide fairways, USGA, don't mix. And I think that's why you can only get 14,000 patrons out there. So,
Yep.
Other than that, Christian, hit it long and straight, son, because
It beats you hitting it short and crooked.
damn it.